Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Behind the Cape. I'm Data Superhero Keith Belanger, and today I am thrilled to not be joined by another fellow Data Superhero, but somebody who has become the heartbeat of our amazing community that we call the Data Superheroes. For just over a year, she has led and shaped the Snowflake Global Data Superheroes program. And please welcome Amilee Alesna, the person truly behind the cape who inspires this group every single day. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me, Keith. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to see. Everybody can now see who makes us all tick and makes this group function. It's exciting to have you here.
I'm very excited. I guess maybe I should just start with introducing myself.
Sure.
So, my full name is Amilee Alesna, but I like to go by Amy because I think that just saves us time. I've had the pleasure of working in events and community programs for a decade. And I have to say that my passion is definitely in working with champion communities. I'm constantly inspired by the work that comes from individuals, and so it makes it a lot easier to show up every day to work. So
Well,
happy to be talking about this subject.
yes, and we're happy. I'm happy to have you. And this is the time of the year where we're really getting to the 2026 and the application process for the new superheroes. And for those who are listening and have been wondering what it takes, this definitely is the episode for you. So you were just talking about that you've been involved with community programs for a decade or so, and you've been with this program now for a little over a year. What continues to inspire you the most about this particular community?
Oh my gosh, the passion, the passion. I mean, you know, for me, I consider myself an introvert. So being in certain situations, certainly makes me uncomfortable. Being here on camera, I'm a bit uncomfortable. But I know that working with data superheroes, the one thing that they do is they constantly have the courage to take themselves out of their comfort zone. Um, and they do this because the passion that they have, they want to share their knowledge with their communities, and so if it means being in uncomfortable spaces, that is what they're going to do.
Yeah, it definitely is. Um, I know personally myself, I've put myself out there more than if you would have talked to me 10 years ago, I probably, would not have. Um, but to your point, really being a part of this community really has us all kind of pushing that boundary. Um, you wrote in a recent blog that being a data superhero is a mindset. Um, what are the core behaviors or attitudes you see in people who really embody that?
Listen, you're going to hear me say passion this
The word of
entire.
the day, passion.
Yes, that is the word of the day, and it's what data superheroes wake up with. When they're not feeling like showing up, when like we all have our lives outside of work. They push past that, and ultimately, I feel like at the core of a data superhero is this selflessness. Um, it compels them to really take what they know and to share it with their communities, whether it's online, it's in the written work, or in person events. Data superheroes feel so passionately about Snowflake that they make it a point to really stay at the forefront of our releases, our innovations. They take the time to test and experiment, and then they take the time to share it with others. So ultimately, that is what a data superhero does. It's the mindset that they wake up with every day, and it's why I appreciate working so closely with everybody.
One of the things I've observed, when you say like that mindset, what I have discovered is that there are such a variety of different superheroes that have a different focus area, different skill set that whether you're trying to understand like Snowflake strategy, how to do deep code, how to, some people love doing video, some people love doing um, blogs. No matter what answer you're looking for, you put out in the community and there's somebody there to help you. It's such a diverse group, even from a different verticals in the industry, different regions in the globe. It's an amazing group of people.
Yes. I mean, data superheroes are like snowflakes, right?
Yes,
They're
yes,
all very unique.
yeah, they definitely are. And everybody is fantastic, very nice, very helpful, willing to share what they bring to the table, and they're all willing to learn from each other's and from the industry as a whole. Um, so today we're talking about applying for to be a superhero, like going into the 2026 class. And if somebody is wondering if they're ready, what's the best way to know whether or not now is the right time they might want to apply?
That's a great question. You know, I think applicants should really ask themselves if becoming a data superhero would help them become a more effective community leader. And that's what I see data superheroes are. They're your community leaders. The program itself should really become another tool, right, to help you create more impact in your local communities. Obviously, there's a ton of benefits to becoming a data superhero. One of the benefits is getting early access to features, getting invited to private previews, getting access to roadmaps. And so I see my job as really being a facilitator, so connecting our members with the things that you should know so that you can go forth and become more impactful. So the question is, do you think that becoming a data superhero would help you do what you're already doing in a better way, more proactively, and have greater impact?
Yeah. And when you think of a strong applicant, some might say, well, I don't have a blog, or I don't have videos, but maybe they're good content. You know, when you look at the applicants, what are you looking at that stands out the most, and why?
So we get a ton of applications, hundreds and hundreds, and so we go through every single one. What we're looking for is continuous contributions to the community. So it should be like a steady drumbeat, whether it's a fast paced song or a slow paced song, whatever that drumbeat is for you, it's consistent throughout the year. You could be leading user groups, you can be contributing to open source communities, creating content, educating your internal teams, or speaking at events. So like you said, every data superhero has a superpower. And so, really, it's tapping into the medium that you're most comfortable with and making sure that you're leveraging this craft to share what you think the community needs to know. And so, when we're looking at applications, it's not, hey, let me do a ton of create a ton of content at the end of the year just to prepare for the application. We're looking as far back as November of 2024 to see that you've been continuously contributing and embedding yourself in your communities.
Now, when it comes to Snowflake and somebody who's a superhero, do they have to have like all the certifications and be an expert in everything and all things Snowflake?
That that is a great question. I mean, obviously, we love to see when people have all the certifications, but that's not it's not a requirement. Listen, I think the best data superhero are the ones that know that they don't know all the things, right? This is not the program that you apply for when you've reached the peak of your career.
Right.
Data superheroes know that, especially being in the tech space, you have to be a lifelong learner. And I honestly, that's another thing I appreciate about working in champion communities. It's that desire to continue to learn. So, no, you do not have to be an expert. You just have to have that drive to learn, to share what you know, um, and do it like on a continuous basis. So, yes, get those certifications, but no, not a requirement.
Yeah, you know, the uh, the thing about Snowflake, so I've been with Snowflake, leveraging Snowflake for quite some time, and I would say over the last year, you talk about learning and the amount there's there is. I think we just had Build, where it was at a couple of weeks ago, and I informally counted that there were either new development or enhancements. There were over 40 things introduced during Build.
Wow.
Like, so the amount of talk about the amount of learning, like my brain was going, oh my God, how am I going to take all this? But with that, I found that there are superheroes that got really good at this and really good with that and good with that. And
Right.
being able to tap into those people, because it's like, look, I'm not an expert in Cortex, but I know, that person is, and I'm going to reach out. Um, that's been great because I learn by learning from others who have done trials, tribulations, and rather than read it, how can you help me? And I think that's another thing, great thing about the superheroes is they're all of them are out there to tap into and leverage and use their experience.
Yeah, I mean that's absolutely right. There's certainly data superheroes have like a particular area of focus that they, are super passionate about. But they're willing to learn everything and maybe be an expert at one or two things. So yeah, you don't have to be an expert at everything. I think that would be incredibly difficult to do with, like you said, just at Build, we were talking about 40 new releases. So how do you stay ahead of that and become an expert? Maybe you don't, but listen, we have a community of amazing community leaders that, like you said, you could tap into, and I think that's another amazing benefit of the program.
Yeah, and it kind of gets me to the next topic, right? You've emphasized this in the past, right? Quality over quantity. What does a high quality contribution actually look like, in the practice for applicants?
Yeah. Um, you know, when I think of a data superhero, every single data superhero has a full-time job, and then on top of their full-time jobs they have their personal commitments outside of work. And so, because of this, a true data superhero isn't looking to um, you know do something just for the sake of doing something, right? They're looking for ways to make bigger, greater impact through whatever medium they choose. So I don't expect applicants to show me that they're doing something every week or every month. But when they do something, it's thoughtful, it's strategic. For example, speaking at Build, you know, that's a moment in time, but the potential for impact is great because you're reaching tens of thousands of people. So if you're speaking at Build or another third party conference, that's I'd rather see that than, daily social posts, right?
Right.
How are you taking what you know and trying to share it with as many people as you can? So I hope I answered your question, but
No, you did, because I know sometimes, like you said about your full-time job and your personal life, and there'll be sometimes weeks or a couple of weeks go by, and I'm like, I feel like I get that, like, I don't want to say guilt feeling, like I'll feel like, oh my God, I haven't really contributed to the superheroes in like the last couple of weeks. And to your point, it's life but I try to, when I do get that opportunity, like, what am I doing that can be, not just checking a box, but bring value. Like, a couple of weeks ago I said, hey, I just attended Build, I'm going to give my 2 cents on it, right? And tie it to my job. And so that's what I know I try to do is to do, high quality stuff, instead of saying, hey, I post it every day, like you said, or I'm going to write 100 blogs that are just, you know, a bunch of
rambling.
words that really bring nothing, right? Except, again, check a box. So it really is, um, you know, it kind of gets me the other thinking, because I know when I applied to be a, say, data superhero, and this may be relevant for others that are out there, maybe they don't have the content today, even if they applied, and they wouldn't get. What would you say to that person if they wanted to start today, get started today? What advice would you give them to get themselves prepared to be maybe selected as a data superhero?
Yeah. So I think Joyce Avila, one of our data superheroes, said it best. If you want to become a data superhero, the best thing that you could do is to act like a superhero. Um, I think being a superhero is an action. It's what you do when no one is looking. It's internal motivation. So the short answer is just do it, right? You don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for that, to get all the certifications. Just start sharing what you know. I think everybody has such a unique perspective. You have a unique way of learning things, right? And you might think that's only how I learn, but I guarantee you that there is somebody out in the community that learns the same way that you do. And if that person can benefit from it, that's incredibly rewarding. So don't wait. You might not be ready to be a data superhero quite yet, but the one thing that you can do is start acting like a data superhero.
Right. Right. There's nobody stopping you from doing what you want to do to share your knowledge, right? It's the internet, conferences are an open, place. And I know personally myself, I was doing videos and blogs before I became a superhero. So it was a more of a, let's say, kind of a natural transition. You kind of had a, but to your point is, who's stopping you? Get going. Just do it, right? And see how it works out for you. You can be a, a data hero, without the title.
I mean, and that's exactly it. I think becoming a data superhero, it should be a natural progression, right? It's not a destination, and I think a lot of people see it as, oh, I've become a data superhero, I have arrived. The truth is being a data superhero should accelerate what you're already doing. It is another tool. It is being able to gain access to product teams, to other data superheroes around the world, to exclusive opportunities that get you the visibility that you need. So if you feel like this is the natural next step in what you're already doing, please apply. We need you. So
Yeah. Um, you know, you hear often that, you have to have a story. Usually when you're applying for something, the applicant wants to tell a story. What makes a compelling story that really resonates with the folks that are going to be reviewing the applicants?
oh my gosh, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Like, where did you start? How did you get into like the data world? What compelled you to move forward in it? And then what compelled you to to like embed yourselves in your community and share what you share? I mean, I know that sometimes people think that their stories aren't interesting, but I guarantee you that's actually my favorite part of learning about a data superhero is seeing where they started.
Yeah,
And it's all very unique, right? And it's really like the challenges and the hurdles that you've overcome to get where you're at. I mean,
yeah,
I don't think anybody has had it easy. Like what we have today, what you can say, like I've accomplished in my career is because of what you've done. You've
right,
shown up every day, even on the days, especially on the days when you didn't feel like doing anything. Right?
right,
I would love to know that story,
yeah,
but you know, so ultimately, it's really understanding like your motivation. And ultimately me understanding how I can help you as a leader become more effective. um, it's really being able to articulate, this is where I've been, this is where I'm at, and if I'm accepted into the program, this is where I can see myself going.
yeah.
So
I love everybody's stories. I mean, when we get together, with a bunch of other superheroes, I have my journey, and everybody has their journeys, and hearing and sharing each other's journeys, um, and truly finding out how many people in data did not start. in
Right.
data. I know from my personal story, I was going to design buildings. I was in school to be an architect, and you know,
Okay.
I tripped one. That's a not a real trip, but I was a career trip into data. It was, you know, I was working with somebody else on a project. They said, "Hey, meet this data architect," and I said, "I like what that person's doing better than what I'm doing." And here we are, 30 years later, right? So it's hearing the people's journeys and the experiences. I love to hear that as well, and it's always fun.
That's how I ended up working in community programs. So prior to, I was working in events, and I happened to help somebody with their champion program. We were doing like an on-site, podcast series at this event, and sitting with these champions, I was like, "You are kidding me! There are people that are this smart and this humble out in the world, like super cool people that are just like, I mean." I've said it before, maybe not, publicly, but if I could take like the passion that champions have and just put a drop of it into my coffee every day, like I would be so productive. So it was at that point I had no aspirations of getting into community programs, but I was so inspired by the champions that I met that for the first time I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
I want to do that. I want to move to that team. And I think it was destiny because we were going through like this reorg, and right after I communicated, this is where I want to be, our leader was like, I think Amy would do really well on this team. And so I ended up being there, and like here I am.
here you
I,
are.
I absolutely love it. So
Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
amazing. If you to follow those opportunities, and you never know where you're going to end up. So this past year, so I was pre Amy and post Amy.
Okay.
I would say this past year has been really good, really, 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 really good. Um, and so I'm going to ask you, if I'm an applicant and I'm looking, what do you bring, you know, to the superheroes? I'm going to say on a regular basis because you give us a regular, but really is, as the leader of the superheroes, what are you bringing or what are you providing to those who are in the superheroes program?
Besides my amazing sense of humor,
Yes.
is that not enough? Um, well, I can tell you one thing. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be a data superhero. I've only been here a year, but the one thing that I absolutely love about working at Snowflake is the value that they have in Snowflake community programs. I mean, from the highest rungs of leadership here, they know who the data superheroes are, and they're invested. And so that makes it so much easier for me to provide those opportunities to our members. Obviously, the benefits of becoming a data superhero is getting early access, early visibility into things. So we do weekly virtual sessions that connect our members with our product teams. But this year, we rolled out our very first Data Superhero Council. It was a 2-day event in person in Menlo Park, and we basically had 18, actually 19, because we added a session because it was so amazing. Like internally at Snowflake, everybody was talking about the data superheroes and how, like, what amazing feedback they were providing. So we actually added one. So 19 sessions across 2 days. And in those sessions, we were giving visibility into roadmaps and honestly just facilitating conversation. It wasn't death by PowerPoint or demos. And so I think, it, I walked away from those 2 days realizing, like, I don't know that a lot of companies are leveraging their champion programs the way that they should. Our members have like such a wealth of knowledge, not just in Snowflake, but in their communities. Like, you think about attending a user group or attending an event or being active online and seeing like the feedback that comes from the community. That's what we're tapping into. And so, I think, moving forward, I don't, I see more of those things happening,
Right.
more more opportunities for data superheroes to provide feedback. It's not just about going out into the world and amplifying, what amazing things are coming from Snowflake. It's also having honest conversations with their product teams and saying, listen, this is what the community is saying. Um, and this is how we can make things better because we all care about the future of Snowflake.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the future of Snowflake, as we're getting into 2026, and Snowflake, right, itself is expanding. Now it's the AI data cloud and where it's heading. Um, where do you see the superhero community kind of heading as we go into 2026? Anything new on the horizon? Maybe me trying to get a sneak peek on anything that I might.
You know, um, Heading into 2026, I think for the past year, we've done amazing work together. I think we have a really good, you know, a really good program that's consistently providing opportunities to our data superheroes. Data superheroes have a seat at the table. What 2026 is going to look like is not going to be, something that I come up with. It's going to be coming from our community, our data superheroes, I should say. And so, I don't know that I can unveil anything at this point. For I know for sure that the Data Superhero Council will live on in 2026, and that's an amazing accomplishment. Beyond that, I think folks are just going to have to apply, join, and find
Wait
out
and
on
see.
their own. Yes.
Ooh. With that, um, any final words, message that you might have for the aspiring data superhero before maybe they apply or they start this journey?
Just start. It's about progress, not perfection. And I think getting out of our comfort zone, uh, it's about being comfortable with failing, with the prospect of failing. And I think for me personally, as far as my personal journey, that's been something that I've gotten better at. Which is why I'm here talking with you. It's knowing that not everything is going to be perfect, but if we're making progress towards something, so you don't have to be at a certain place to be a data superhero. You don't have to have all the certifications or all the education. Just start
Yeah,
whatever it is that's in the back of your mind. You know what I'm talking about. It's that seed. It's that seed, the thing that comes up when you're not working and you have some space to really think and be creative. That thing that you've been thinking about and you haven't started, start it.
start.
Start it.
Y-
And it's not going to be perfect the first time around, but you're going to get better.
Yeah,
And and then eventually that's going to go on an application and I'm going to look at your application and I'm going to say, I am so thankful that this person started and this
right.
person applied for the program. Welcome to the Data Superheroes. So I
You know,
think that's what my words of advice. Just start.
yeah. I mean, even for myself in this show that I'm doing was just I have an idea, right? And I brought it up with some people, and next thing I'm working with the YouTube folks. We're doing this, and it happened, right? So to your point, if you have an idea, don't be afraid. Don't think it's going to be, nobody's going to like it. You know,
Yeah.
we've often failed and succeeded in stuff, and just go for it.
And I'm sure over time this has become better than your first episode, right?
Oh, it has definitely gotten better, and I know there's so much more for a person who's never been trained on doing videos. I'm a data guy standing in front of you, like you said. You know, uh, I've used to be very uncomfortable being in front of a camera. By doing this, it's allowed me to be more comfortable. And then even when I'm speaking in front of large groups, as at groups at conference or um, user groups, it's now been like I've already done enough embarrassing things. How can I do anything more? so, it's been that. But I can honestly say, Amy, it's been a pleasure having you on. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure having you as our leader. I am looking forward to, always looking forward to the new class that's going to join us. So always excited for that announcement. But for those of you who are going to apply, so we will have the application link in the comments below. I think we'll also have a link to the blog that you wrote, Amy, on adopting the mindset of a data superhero. So
Yeah.
we will have that as well. But you can always find myself. You can find Amy on LinkedIn. But again, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Keith, for having me. This was a lot
Yep.
of fun.
Yes, we'll have to have you on again for sure. We're going to turn you into a Snowflake data superhero. You can be an expert in Snowflake before you know it.
Oh God. That's a dream. That would be a dream. So yes, maybe that's what comes from 2026 is all of a sudden I'm technical. I have a technical.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye bye.